Batman was almost burned alive by an Asian street gang. After sneaking into the Devil Pig's warehouse, Batman was dropped into a fiery furnace when the leader of the gang activated a trap door underneath his feet. And even though his suit was able to withstand temperatures of around 1000 degrees Fahrenheit, it didn't matter because the furnace was headed towards a whopping 1400 degrees Fahrenheit, which is literally cremation level. Thankfully, before that could happen though, Batman realized that the furnace's coolant coils were exposed, which allowed him an opportunity to use his batarangs to bust them open. And after hitting his target, he crawled out of the pit that almost ended his life, only to discover that the Devil Pigs had regained consciousness from their exchange earlier. So yet again, he was forced into another showdown with them, but due to the furnace draining all his energy and the fact that there was just so many of them, he eventually found himself at the bottom of a dog pile being stabbed over and over again by two large knives. However, despite the odds being nowhere near in his favor, moments later the tables were drastically turned when his armored batsuit came crashing in through the warehouse skylight thanks to his friends at the GCPD activating in autopilot mode. So the Devil Pigs did everything they could to try stopping it in its path, even using an RPG, but the batsuit not only deflected the shot with a missile of its own, but picked up the sharks from the aquarium earlier before using them as blunt objects to temporarily whack the pigs out of the fight, giving it a short window of opportunity to scoop Jim into its cockpit and evacuate the scene expeditiously. Meanwhile, Bruce was still at the rec center, analyzing some of the wreckage left behind from the Joker's last attack, because apparently the city decided to dump it all in the empty lot next door until figuring out a more permanent solution. And Bruce wasn't a big fan of this, because he felt like it constantly reminded the kids of such a horrible tragedy. And as days continued passing, with the city refusing to take care of it, Bruce eventually grew so sick of the mess that he turned a negative into a positive by turning everything into a new playground, stating that they didn't have to be ugly reminders, but testaments to what the kids had persevered through. Anyways, after Jim's private investigation turned into a giant blood-filled mess, he was called into a one-on-one meeting where Jerry expressed her disappointment, indicating that he was being fired and that she wanted him to officially resign during a presentation in front of the city that night. But by the time the presentation rolled around, things didn't go as she intended in the slightest, because right when she was gonna bring him onto the stage, Jim noticed a suspicious aircraft heading towards the event at full speed. So he dove onto the stage, tackled Jerry onto the ground to save her from certain death, only for none other than Mr. Bloom himself to exit the aircraft moments later before killing a countless number of civilians by jamming his fingers through their bodies. But sadly, that's when this issue comes to an end, but if you want to see what happens next, let me know in the comments down below.